Parents took my $75,000 college fund, I sued, got kicked out, and karma struck. Hey folks, let me tell you my story, straight from the gut, about how my parents took the money meant for my college and handed it over to my sister, and how I fought tooth and nail to get back what was mine. I am 18 years old, and life has not exactly been kind to me, not that it ever was, thanks to my self-absorbed parents and their golden child, my older sister Mandy. She is 24, and for as long as I can remember, she has been the center of their world, while I was just an afterthought. They worshipped her, and I was just there. Growing up, I never really knew what it felt like to have a fair shot at things because of the way they played favorites. Mandy was not the type to outright bully me, but she had a way of twisting things to always land on top. I do not even blame her for it, our parents made it that way. She was their firstborn, their pride and joy, but what about me? Sure, parents have favorites, but it is a real gut punch when they make it clear that you are not the one. My whole childhood, I felt like an afterthought. Everything I owned had already belonged to Mandy first, her old clothes, her used toys, even the leftovers of whatever she had. The only time I ever got something new was Christmas, and even then, it was just one thing so they would not look bad in front of our relatives. Meanwhile, Mandy had a mountain of gifts. If I ever spoke up, my mother would snap, "You will get her things next year." Yeah, used, worn-out hand-me-downs. As a kid, I swallowed it, thinking that was just how things were. But as I got older, I started to push back. The response? Either they claimed we were too broke or they punished me for daring to question them. My mother never even asked what I wanted to eat, every meal was planned around what Mandy liked. One time, I refused to eat and left the table. They punished me by grounding me and letting me go hungry until I apologized and scrubbed dishes for a week. It still drains me just thinking about it, but that was my life. You want to know the kicker? My mother grew up being treated like garbage in her own family while her younger sister got everything. So when she had kids, she decided to flip the script. She poured all her love into Mandy and left me scraping for crumbs. I guess she saw herself in Mandy and wanted to give her the childhood she never had. By the time I was done with grade school, I had had enough. I spent my summers with my grandfather. He was the only one who ever really cared about me. Grandpa did not think much of my mother, and honestly, I think he saw right through her. He looked out for me because no one else would. After elementary school, he asked if I wanted to move in with him on his farm, and I jumped at the chance. For the first time in my life, I felt free. He spoiled me in a way I had never known: new clothes, toys, video games, the works. It made up for all those years of being second best. His farm had chickens and a couple of horses, and we spent our days taking care of them. I never wanted to go back home. When it came time for high school, I begged him to let me stay and go to school nearby. My parents were thrilled to get rid of me, so from 9th grade on, I lived with Grandpa. It worked out. He needed help as he got older, and I needed to be anywhere but home. Then, in my junior year, Grandpa got sick. I think he knew his time was running out because he gathered the family and went over his will. The farm went to my uncles. My father got $150,000, and half of that, $75,000, was set aside for my college. Grandpa made me promise that I would get my degree. My mother was bitter that my father was not getting land, but Grandpa reminded her that Dad had already taken his share of the inheritance years ago to pay off debts and start a business. Then, in my senior year, Grandpa passed away. It was the worst day of my life. With him gone, I had to move back home, and it was miserable for all of us. As graduation got closer, I asked about my $75,000 so I could start applying for college. They kept giving me weird looks, avoiding the question. Finally, I pressed them for answers, and my mother admitted it. They gave the money to Mandy to start a business. I was stunned. That was my future, and they had just handed it over. They brushed it off like it was no big deal, saying I could wait a year since I was too young for college. I shot back, then why are all my friends enrolling now? They begged me to give them time to pay me back, but I asked why Mandy could not wait instead. They had no answer. Months passed, and they kept dodging me, calling me selfish whenever I brought it up. Mandy went around trash-talking me, telling everyone I was jealous. I warned my mother that what they did went against Grandpa's will, and she lost it, claiming I owed them 18 years of food and shelter. Meanwhile, they were still bending over backward for Mandy. She was 24, divorced, and had a kid from a bad fling. Her boyfriend left as soon as the baby came, and my parents forced her into a shotgun wedding that crumbled almost instantly. Now they were raising her kid while she sat around, pretending to job hunt. I knew for a fact she was just flirting with guys at cafes. When she could not find a job, she begged them for money to start a business, and they just handed her my college fund without even asking me. I told them I would sue, and they panicked. My mother tried adding up every penny they had ever spent on me, claiming I owed them $200,000. That was the last straw. I left, tracked down Grandpa's lawyer, and he confirmed that I was legally entitled to that 75 grand. He sent them a formal notice, and a week later, my mother kicked me out, calling me a backstabber. I had already lined up a job at a cafe and a place to stay with a friend, so I was ready. Mandy called, screaming at me that they would never pay me a dime, but I just told my lawyer. When they ignored the notice, I went back to talk it out, but they lost it. My mother even smashed my belongings. That was it. I told the lawyer to take them to court. My father tried to settle things quietly, saying he did not have the money. He offered to pay $10,000 a month. My lawyer pushed to make sure my tuition was covered, and the judge ruled that my father had to pay for my college up to $75,000. I was not thrilled to still be tied to him, but I warned him that if he missed a payment, I would take him right back to court. Mandy kept running her mouth, but it all fell apart for her. That business she started? It turned out to be an illegal gambling den, and it got shut down. She lost everything. My father finally kicked her out, and my mother chose to stick by him. Now, Mandy is on her own. I got into college, finished high school with top grades, and my father is paying up just like he is supposed to. He even showed up at my graduation and told me he was proud of me for the first time in my life. I have a part-time job tutoring math, and I am finally living for myself. My father spent years letting my mother call the shots just to save money, but things are different now. As for Mandy and my mother, they got exactly what they deserved. And me? I am finally free. Grandpa would be proud.